Hi, everyone. Welcome to our call today. I've been thinking about what we could do as we start the new year. So last week we talked about being the salt of the earth, being useful and being valuable, and doing our part, okay, to flavor the world. So today I want to help all of us be intentional about what we're creating, not just for this year, but in our family life and, into the future. So I had an inspiration when I chatted with my daughter, that we should talk about how eternity actually starts now. Sometimes we hold our breath and we wait until a certain situation or condition happens, and then we can enjoy life, or we can do something better. But why don't it all start now? Why don't every moment from this point onwards count towards our eternal happiness? Okay, and really that's true. Eternity does start now. This life on earth is a blip, but it's a very important blip. And one of the most important things we need to do is be very intentional. Okay, we know a lot of stuff and we read and hear and learn lots of stuff, but I think it's important to just pause and intentionally make decisions on what we want to become and what we want to create within our home. Okay, so like the cultures and the values and the just standards that we want to adopt. So we can reiterate or review if we've already done this, and if we haven't, then go ahead and start this. I'm going to quickly share a screen here with you, and then I'm going to take it away because I want you to come up with this, all the details yourself, okay? So here, instead of just thinking celestial, I think, we could be, all right, be celestial. We'd be a celestial kingdom citizen. So anything that doesn't align with that high level of being, we need to eliminate out of our lives, or we need to make some changes. There are cultures and traditions that don't align, right? And we need to kind of weed those out. So I decided to put them in, 6 kind of categories. So you can see here, so you can do this same thing. You can put the word being celestial in the middle there, and at every corner you can have a label. So one is physical health, finances, character, contribution, relationships, and lifestyle. So, how do we want to be in those areas? So sometimes they're strong in one area and weak in another area. We just need to be intentional and, make decisions on what we want to become. Okay. And then when we do that, then we can clearly articulate to our family, especially our children who we have a lot of influence over, what we really are creating. Even now with my teenage kids, when I explain to them how I've intentionally parented, how I intentionally taught them things, they were like shocked. One kid was like, "So you tricked us into learning?" And she was laughing about it, but I'm like, yes, and I said, the reason why I read to you, right after you were born is because language is developed in the first 3 years of your life. So you need to hear all the sounds, and you need to kind of have a feel of words. And if you're exposed to a large spectrum of sounds from different languages, when you speak those languages in the future, you won't have an accent. So I recognize that, so I applied it this way. So, you learn a principle, you break it down, and you apply it to your daily life, just a little bit at a time. Okay, so you guys can write those titles, physical health, finances, character, contribution, relationships, and lifestyle down. and then we'll fill it up with some ideas that you might have, or that you would like. And sometimes we can learn and get some ideas from each other. So I'm hoping to get more ideas from you guys too. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Okay. All right. So I hope you all have that down. And then, let's flesh it out. So I'll give you an example of why we're doing this. In Australia, there's something that I really don't like, and it's called the tall poppy syndrome. So what that means is if you are outshining and standing out, um, people joke and make fun and kind of cut you down so that you're the same size as them, you know, and it's just a silly culture and people laugh at it and they continue to do it. But I told my kids when we come back to Australia, there's a few things that I want you to intentionally not adopt. And tall poppy syndrome is one of them. So when people, do something different, they stand out, we do not cut them down by making jokes. Okay. And if people make a joke, how do you respond to that? A simple way is, that's not funny, and then they will recognize that, hey, we're not going any further with this, right? Because you stand up for truth. Or, you know what? You can be funnier by, coming up with, you know, more intelligent jokes, or, don't laugh at my expense or whatever, or somebody else's expense. Not nice. So then we can continue to grow and become more celestial, okay, because our eternity starts now. Then set the trend for others to follow so that they speak, beautifully around you because you're trying to speak beautifully with yourself and with others. Because that's just one example. All right, so let's start, guys, with the physical health. If we can understand why we take care of our health, as in principles, and clearly define what we want to become, then it's easier for us to have good health, good physical health. So I'll start you guys off a little bit here and you can add to it. And then just kind of ask yourself, why do I want this? And if you can explain it to yourself, you can explain it to your kids, okay? Because, they're impressionable. And sometimes we really need a reason. If they have a good reason behind why they do what they do, they will be inspired to take actions and to make changes. Okay, so I believe that the celestial body of God is clean. Yeah. Okay, that's one thing, right? And pure and strong, and then we have other things too, but I don't want to list it all out. So what that means, if you have children, you want to tell them keep clean, keep it clean. This is why we keep ourselves clean, right? Because God's clean. You want to be like that, right? So that's a very basic thing, but sometimes it just needs to be said. Yeah. And pure, for example. So we're not being nitpicky or difficult when we look at ingredients on foods and stuff. Mum's not being a meanie by saying, oh no, this has a red 40 in it, it's not good, it's toxic, let's not drink it. Let's not eat that, because we need to keep our vessel clean, right? When we're clean, we can have mental clarity. When we're clean, we can choose the right. We have more discipline. We can say no to things. We have more control over our bodies, because in the eternities, we'll have a beautiful body that will always be, merged and fused with. So we really need to learn how to work with our bodies. Okay, anyone else have other things that you want to list under the good physical health, as being celestial? So, my kids were like saying to me, sorry, I'm going to give you a chance to talk. Like,
Okay.
we don't drink alcohol, whatever, because they're like, oh, because you're not allowed to in your church, you're not allowed to. And they're like, actually, no. Yes, that's one of the things that we shouldn't, but that's not the reason why we don't drink. We just want to be.
Ever since COVID, we've been getting good rates again. Prior to that, things were just astronomical.
I'm going to mute you because there's a lot of noise in the background there. Yeah, so, if they can reply like that, that means they really, really understand what being celestial is, you know? So, it's not like, oh, because I'm not allowed to, that's why I'm not doing drinking or, doing drugs. It's like, no, actually, because God's like this and I want to be like that. Okay. All right, go ahead, Sierra. Just unmute yourself there.
There we go. It's harder on the phone. I was just going to add energetic, but if you're doing all of those other steps, if you're clean and pure and et cetera, then you're going to have more energy anyway.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a byproduct, but energetic. That's actually been one of the positives that I feel like I've had in my life, is always having enough energy. And that's not always true. There are times where I totally did not have all the energy I wanted or needed, but I come across that way.
Yeah, I like that. When we are not doing what we're supposed to do, like we're not on our right path. Not that we're doing something wrong, but we're not kind of honoring our path. We lack that energy, and then we can recognize, hang on, why do I feel like a little bit drained, a little bit of a divine discontent? It's like, oh, refocus, like, hey, I don't need to be over here. I need to be over there. Yeah, so it's a good sign. It's a good sign that, doing the thing that you're meant to do. Yeah, very good. We can intentionally put energetic down and, create that within ourselves as well. I was told that I had thalassemia trait and I'm always going to be tired. So I didn't set that as a goal. Like, I want to be energetic and run around and chase the kids, because I'm like, oh, that's what I have to settle with. And then, one day I was realizing that, hey, that's a limitation. Like, I don't want that. And, I decided I'm going to be energetic and be able to run around, play and jump. And yeah. And then I became that. But it's like, we do need to use our power of choice to choose that. Anyone else want to add a few more things to physical health? Go ahead and unmute yourself. What else do you want to be physically?
For me, it's not have any restrictions as you get older.
Mm-hmm.
If you look after your body, I can be there for my grandkids and I can run like they can.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold me back from getting out and really enjoying those relationships, cycling and yeah.
Yeah, so let's do that in the positive, Lucy. So physically capable, flexible, yeah.
5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Disease free.
Yeah. So healthy. Yeah. Capable, healthy. And then you're saying energetic as well, running around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And strong. That's another one. Yeah. So focus on those positive words. Yeah. And why not? I think if people don't decide that, they will just settle for, oh, you're just getting old. That's not an excuse.
Yeah, no thanks. I want to live.
I know. That's so good. Uh-huh. Love it. Anyone else? What do you want to add to that physical health?
Well, this one kind of goes along with strength, but just toned, because I recently did something that in the past wouldn't have bothered me at all. I picked up a box and it was a bit too heavy, but I like pulled like my groin area, and it hurt a lot. And I just thought, you know what? I need to get my core back in shape. But I mean, you don't do that without effort. And you have to be intentional about toning your body. And I haven't been doing that for about 5 months. And the noticeable difference from 5 months ago to now is significant for me. So I've made an intentional change that I've started to retone my body. So that does fall under strong that you had listed, but it's a very specific part of it for me.
Be specific, Sierra. When you write your thing, just be as specific as you want to be. So if you're saying energy, Lucy might say energy to run after my grandkids, blah, blah, blah. You know, just tell yourself things so that you're like, yep, that's it. I'm set. My mind is clear. I've made decisions using my power of choice. Yeah, love it. And strong means tone for me. And also the beauty of our community is that we understand the lessons that our body's trying to teach us. So, you know, Miss Sierra, the groin area, we're going to, you know, it invites you to clear things that has to do with shame or with, you know, something that's insecure about you. And so you're like, thank you. And it could be ancestors like telling you, oh, well, that's my stuff too. So you're like, gotcha, let's fix that. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Love it. So the other two things I have, because I want to get to the next one now, is self-respect. Your body will teach you how to self-respect. You know, like if your tummy hurts and it's, you know, kind of bloated and, you know, unhappy, then, you know, it's like us not respecting our power of creation or not having integrity within ourselves because we self-betray all the time. So it teaches us all of that. So as our body heals and becomes healthier, we actually naturally develop that self-respect physically. And the other one is bright. You know, it's not about the color of your skin, it's about the glory that's around you. Just your eyes twinkle, and there's just certain aura of intelligence about the physical body. And, you know, we want to develop that because that's what God is. He's shiny. So, you know, we want to be more celestial in that way. So, yeah, lots of light. So, yeah, just intentionally put that down. And then, you know, it's just beautiful because it's sort of like putting an order in. And then your subconscious says, oh, I will work to make that happen. Yeah. So it's just amazing. And sometimes I forget that I put things down and then, you know, come to find out like later on when I've developed it, I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. Yay. So it's not as, you know, difficult as we imagine, okay, because we can manifest that. All right, so let's go to character, guys. So character is so important. Like I didn't realize that people don't talk about character so much because I grew up with my dad who really focused on character. And I really appreciated that. And when I learned about the gospel and they specify what character, I was just so excited to become, you know, a person like that. So what character is like the things that you do on a regular basis, it develops that character within you. You can't do it one or two times. It's just something that you do consistently and then you become that person. So again, we can say we're a clean person. We don't want to entertain, you know, dirty thoughts and things because that's what we're attracting, or negative thoughts. So, you know, pure, reliable. So God keeps his promises, you know, so we need to keep our promises. And this is a big thing that my dad taught us kids. You know, he says your word needs to be golden. And, you know, what that means is if you speak, you know, it better be, you know, something that you will be able to follow through. Otherwise, don't make a promise that you can't keep. So just, watch what you say. So don't just speak higgledy piggledy. So I really love that about my dad. If he says, hey, we're going someplace this weekend, we will go. And if we say, Dad, can we go to this, amusement park? And he's like, you know what, I can't promise. I'll do my best and I'll let you know when we can. And I was like, oh, love it, So anyways, yeah, if you say you come on time, you come on time. Things like that. Say what you mean what you say. Go ahead, Melinda.
Okay, there we go. Hey, Jade.
Hi.
I was just thinking of a few examples. I was able to visit my sister-in-law in her ward this past Sunday, and she's in Young Women. And a lot of the leaders were talking about, people being with people who keep your standards and being with people who align with you. And I think sometimes, especially for the youth, there can be confusion for them because it may be that other church member that is encouraging them to do something against the standards they believe. And then it becomes more conflicting. And so I was saying, because I think that our guard is a little more down within the church.
Yes.
Within members, because we're like, oh, they go to church, they're just like me. They believe the same things I do, they live the same way I do, but we have to remember everybody's at different places within the gospel, and not to be, like, no, you're not good enough, but also recognize who we allow in, and how we allow them to affect our life. And then the other thing with the character I was thinking about, because you were talking about stripling warriors and the moms raising the kids earlier. I lead the, I guess it's not really called achievement days, it's activity days because it's boys and girls. So I lead that group in my ward. And an issue we're having is that, it really made me think, because often in the church, like the culture, they say, oh, so-and-so has been called to this position, raise your hand if you're in support of it. And how many of us raise our hand kind of like customarily, like, oh yeah, sure, Sister Grove's getting called to whatever, or Sister Baldwin's getting called to whatever, and then we don't really take in what that means when we're doing that. Because I've had that experience recently where one of the parents said to me, oh no, that's not an activity my kid wants to do, so we're just not coming. I'm like, okay, I can't force that, but I think sometimes too, especially when they're young, in that age group, the 8 to 11-year-olds, we're, as the parents, are setting the stage for, we're supporting Sister Grow, or we're supporting this activity day program, and you might not always agree with what they're doing or what they have lined up. However, we're being supportive of that. That's what we agreed to when we raised our hand, in church. And so it just really took on a different meaning to me, because I've never had a calling that was kind of like, and I don't know if it's the generation we're in, where a lot of parents, and I'm not saying force your children, but having those discussions with them, like, okay, well, you don't want to go, how come? Like, talk with them about it, not just, okay, you don't want to go, you don't have to. Because Heavenly Father, in my opinion, he has asked a lot of us, and he will ask a lot of us, and we're not preparing our children for that same level of commitment that Heavenly Father is wanting to give us. And as parents, that's our part of our job, to help our children to recognize, like, that you're going to be asked to do hard things in your life. And how do we show that by example? It's a really interesting time working with these young kids, and then with the parents, it's just kind of, it's a lot.
Yeah, I love this. I love what you said. Let's go back to the first thing you said, and I'll comment on the second thing there. Just so good, because I 100% agree. So the first thing I tell my kids is, not everyone gets the memo. So we're not judging, like you said, people might be at different places, right? So not everyone gets a memo, even, members of your same faith. So I say, we are the standard setters. So we are intentional about our standards, and we are clear on our standards, and we repeat our standards to ourselves so we know what we believe, and then we are standard setters. So if your friends, they weaken whether they're in the same faith or not, or in school, because you meet people who don't have your same standard. We don't need to be like worried and scared that, oh my gosh, they're going to influence us. We will say, that's okay. We'll hold still, hold firm, and set the trend for them. And my kids were like, I like that. I like that, because we shine and help influence them instead of being scared, like, oh, that they'll influence us. Of course, we want to choose good friends, but also, sometimes people just need somebody to be a beacon of light. They've had a few friends lately from their high school that says, hey, I really like being around you guys, because you guys remind me to be better, a better version of myself, and I'm like, good job, girls. And then the explicit teaching of what supporting someone or sustaining someone looks like. And we've done that with our family too. Even with our own adult activities, we're like, okay, really tired, not excited about this activity, but we're going anyways, because we've already given our word of support for these leaders, right? So we're doing this because we are, polite and honest, and we are reliable, okay? And we have integrity within ourselves, okay? So there's all of these reasons, because we want to develop this character, okay? And not just, yes, we're just being part of, like the crowd. We're not doing that, right? We're going because of these intentional reasons. And I've watched our kids do the same. So they'll whinge, oh, these activities are boring. But let's get in the car anyways, mom's time to go, and I'm like, good job. And then we don't have to always be excited about everything, but let's do this, okay? We can do hard things. And I love that you brought that up, Melinda, because we need to just think aloud, so our kids can think aloud and reason and problem solve when they have the same problems, okay? Yeah. Sierra, go ahead and unmute yourself.
It just takes a minute on the computer or my phone to pull it up. Okay, so I wanted to kind of piggyback on something you said about being punctual. So punctuality to me was something I had to really look at later in my life, because, and honestly, it wasn't until I met you and Melinda that I really understood punctuality as a whole, because somewhere in my childhood or my young adulthood, I missed it completely. Like, punctuality to me was being on time for work, school, or a competition. Like, those are the things you have to be punctual to. Otherwise, there's like a punishment. There's like, you're gonna miss being able to take the test, or miss the instruction from the teacher because they could lock you out, or you could not be able to compete and be there on time, those kind of things. But I never looked at it outside of the responsibility of work, school, or some type of competition or meet or something. I never looked at it with family or friends or whatnot. And Melinda said something to me one time, and she said, it's actually, I think this is the word she used. Melinda, you can back me up on this or not, but it was something about like being disrespectful.
Yeah.
Because you're not thinking about the other person's time, and that their time is just as important to you. And what you're telling them by being late and not punctual when you say you're going to be there or do something is that whatever it was that you've got going on that's made you late was more important to you than them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that like hurt my heart to hear it. I'm like, no. Like, it's not more important. It just, so I realized what I would tend to do is overbook myself all the time, every day. I would have so many things I wanted to do and get done, and I couldn't tell people no. I wouldn't allow myself to tell people no. So I never could be on time or finish all the things that I wanted to do, because I wasn't considering the fact that I was overbooking myself. Mm-hmm. So I needed to choose what's most important right now for you to do? And are you going to be on time for it?
Mhm.
So that was one of my adult lessons that was so great to learn, and something that my kids are already, young adults, but I'm like, hey, we need to talk about punctuality because I didn't teach all this as a kid. So I don't want you going in your adulthood the way I did. So anyway, that was just something I wanted to piggyback on.
Yeah, that's so important. Thank you.
And then the other word that I would add to that list for me would be integrity. Doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. Like, integrity to me is so important to find in a person. And we don't always do the right things. I know I'm not perfect and I don't always do the right thing, but when it comes to making really good choices about like doing something or choosing something, I try to have the most integrity I can, no matter if people are there or not. And I tend, sometimes that gets me in trouble because I tend to be who I am around my friends, whether that's good or bad. And I'm really glad that I have the type of friends that'll say, okay, Sierra, that wasn't so great. You need to work on that,
Yeah.
But integrity, that's a really great one to add to that list.
That's a really good too. I love that. Yeah. The punctuality thing, I like that you said that, because sometimes like some people, they don't have the lessons taught when they were younger. Their parents didn't respect them, and their parents didn't respect time, and they didn't respect their own words. So they will say they'll come somewhere, they'll be somewhere, and then they just don't have the discipline to organize their life, so that they do that well. And like you said, you prioritize now what's most important. Hello, if I did say to my friend, I'll be there, and everything else needs to wait. And like then you realize it stems, it connects to other things like being overproductive. Why do I need to be overproductive? Oh, because that helps me feel important. And then it's like, but does the Heavenly Father want me to do like a million things every day? Or does he want me to do this, 2 things today? So, then I realize like, hey, we need to really check in with the Lord and not assume that we need to, look productive and, look important all the time. And so I've like done lots of sessions on friends that like realize that, oh, they don't have to run around like a chook without its head. So for example, the punctuality thing, it's, it goes back to the physical discipline. I can discipline myself. I can be reliable. I can be respectful of people. So yeah, it all interconnects. I love it. It's beautiful. And then integrity, beautiful as well. And integrity could mean, accepting myself, and then accepting that I can change and become better as I figure out something about me that I can improve. Okay, so beautiful. We can be polite, we can be virtuous and teachable and trustworthy and forgiving and holy. Have we chosen to be holy? Because God's holy. Like, why don't we become holy? Sometimes we think, oh, that's such a big thing, or I'm not quite there yet, and that's something that's not me yet. So anyways, going back to the politeness, I wanted to share, like, in our family, we said, we're going to say thank you and sorries and excuse me's, and, use our best manners, because, I've heard people say, well, why do we use our best manners with other people, but not our family and our loved ones? And I'm like, yeah, well, not here. We speak kindly to ourselves, and with our loved ones. Yeah, because we don't need to save face, or need people to praise us. I had one lady tell me that I am fake, the way I speak to my family, and I'm just fake. And I think to myself, I feel sorry for her, because maybe that's how she is with her family and her life. Because before we had our children, we planned that already, to let's remember to speak. I mean, not that we are perfect, but we try and strive. And I think that's just good enough for now as humans, right? We keep on trying. But yeah, I think that's an important thing as part of character. Yeah. Anybody else want to share before we move on to the next one? We might have
I just had a
to. Yeah, Patsy. Yeah.
I had a quick thought.
Yeah,
A couple years ago, I read a book called The Elimination of Hurry.
yeah,
And a lot of times we put so much on our plate that we actually forget about what's most important. And we run around, like you said, with our chicken, like a chicken with our head cut off, and you're trying to go here, there, and everywhere. And just focusing on what's most important in life can kind of knock a lot of those things off our list of things to do. And I think as we kind of align ourselves with God and His will for us, it just naturally can help us to decide what really is the most important. And so I feel like I've been really focusing on that aspect to help myself quit running around and doing the things that aren't producing the true celestial way of life. So I think that that's a huge thing. And as we let those things go, we actually can live a life like Jesus Christ lived and pay attention to the one that might be hurting, because you're not so in a rush that you can actually stop and think about what's right in front of our faces. So anyway, that's as we're thinking about these character building things, I feel like a lot of times I feel like that is probably one of the biggest distractions of our world, is all the things that kind of help take up all of our time. And as we'll just focus on what really is important, a lot of those things kind of can help our life become more celestial.
yeah. I love that, Patsy. You're one of the best examples that I know of like this
Oh,
stillness and being present. I just really love
mhm.
hanging out with Patsy because you feel like you can just slow down and take a breather and you can talk and you can let your ideas flow. And, we just need to keep telling ourselves that, being still invites the promptings of the Spirit of God. And then we can be more effective in the things that we do instead of rushing and doing it all wrong, right? And then, having to redo things anyways. Yeah. And I think there's this joy that you can have. And I think Patsy, she's such a great example of that. So elimination of hurry. So that's a book that, I think we should all, have a look at there. Yeah. So
It's actually by, let me see if I can see it. Oh, I saw it. It is by John Mark Connor. He was actually a pastor of a big church in Austin, Texas, and he realized that building his business was actually changing him to be not the man that he wanted to be. He wanted to live like Jesus Christ lived, and he realized that that was going to have to change. So it was just a really great book.
I love that. And I think I just want to piggyback on that for a minute too. What I learned is when you do that, you can ask your angels to help you do the other things that you haven't had time to do. And you realize that you're so you're supported, and that we have this collaborative relationship with God. And if you say, God, I'm going to be here present with this person, but I have XYZ to do, you'll find and you'll make room for the Lord to show his miracles. And I feel like I live that a lot more than I've ever done in my life, because I feel like, whoa, that's a big calling. And oh, and I have that to do too. Okay. And then, at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I didn't have to do the laundry and I didn't have to do this laundry. And I'm like, yeah, all my angels are helping me. Yeah. And, even building my doTERRA business, I'm more like, oh, I just don't have time to run around and find new people, but this person needs my help right now. And then I come home and my mom's like, okay, Auntie so-and-so, everyone's an auntie. I'm like, I don't know who's who. Auntie so-and-so needs help and can you do it? And she comes over and then I have an enrollment, and I'm like, oh, there you go. I didn't have to do any of the other legwork. This happens. So allow God to be part of your life when you're more still. And then, of course, you may know that they might have joy. You have more joy when you're more still and do things intentionally. Melinda, go ahead.
I love the talk of stillness. It's a thing that in counseling, I've noticed a lot of people that I would do counseling with, it was the first time or moment they would be still in their day. And it would still take them time to kind of get into the stillness. But one of my favorite quotes that I love, and I might have shared it before, but it's only in still waters can we see things as they are. And so within us, when, only in stillness can we see ourselves as we are. And so I think that's a huge piece. And especially for women, because we are so busy. We are moms and wives, and some of us work, and we have callings, and, there's always something to do. So finding even a small pocket of stillness, if that's in the shower or, when you're cooking dinner and maybe you're just alone in your thoughts, or if you go for a walk, making that time. And I love that, they always said, and I don't know who said it, but it was like, women don't have to go to the mountains to commune and talk with God. He comes to visit us because he knows we're busy. And so I love that, because I think that sometimes, like, I got with a group and we started to do going to the temple once a month. We just went yesterday because we're only an hour and a half away, and it's so great. And we have fun as women chatting, but when we're in the temple, we're still, and we have good moments in the temple, and it's really, really helpful to build in those times that we make time for stillness, because they don't just happen, especially for women, I know.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. Can you please share that quote somehow, Melinda? And I'll post it, I'll repost that, the stillness.
Yes, and I know I'm not saying it eloquent as it was, presented. I'll have to find it. But yes, I will find it. I'll send it to you,
You
Jay.
said it beautifully. I just really love that. Yeah. Because we're trying to be celestial. I can't imagine that, in the celestial eternity realm, that everyone's running around crazy, right? I think we're, taking our time and enjoying life and being present with each other. So yeah, it just motivates and inspire us to be more still. Yeah. And I think, I think who was it? It was Karen. She says that the devil rushes. So we don't need to panic yet. That's what the word she says, panics. Anything that we do in a panic or in a rush, that's not of God. Yeah. So I think that's a really good reminder. We don't really need to push forward like that, to feeling like we're the only one doing it. Yeah. So sisters, anyone else want to share about character? Anything you feel like you want to add? Because I think this list can go on, and it's really good that we do that. We take the time to do that. Yeah.
Just quickly to add to when you were talking about sustaining your leaders and going to the meetings and that, one of the things that I think is really important that we teach our children, look, it might not be the activity you really want to go to, but there'll be someone there that needs you there. They might need that friendship. And it's the same with, like, when we ran leadership, like, yeah, you might know all this stuff, but come along anyway, because your ideas can help other people. So it's taking away that selfish attitude of what's in it for me. It's okay, what can I contribute?
Yeah. It's a beautiful way of looking at it, because that's what celestial beings do. Yeah. About what we can do for others. I love that. Yeah, so let's do part 2 with this. So take this week, ladies, to think about contribution. Like, how do you like to contribute to the world? You're one important piece of the puzzle as part of this big whole. What would you like to do, right? And intentionally put that down. And then relationships. What kind of relationships do you want to have? And the other one is lifestyle. What kind of lifestyle would you like to have? And finances. What are our attitudes towards finances? I recently read a book, and the lady's talking about, well, if you disrespect money, like you say, oh, I'm not doing this for money, or you, kind of not value or respect money, then it doesn't respect you back. And she says, do you have crumpled money in your purse? Do you, have coins laying everywhere? Well, how would you like it if people treated you that way? And so, it just think about that. And then I thought that's really good. And she says, if you see, scatter some money around the house and then walk around and just like thank you to the $5 bill, stroke it and, put it away in an orderly manner in your wallet from, smallest note to the largest note or whatever, and then pick up a coin and thank the coin and, just show some respect. And, that activity was interesting. It's funny, but I think, it just teaches us, that, if Heavenly Father gives us money and, gives us things that we can, it's like an energy exchange, then how grateful are we when we receive those things? And if we do want more, it's just hard to manifest it when you don't respect what you have already. So, just have a think about those things. And then when we come back together next week, the same time, we'll add to those. Of course, you can talk about it with your family and, just come up with things and share that with us. The list that I have is, it's just very basic. But I think, we can expand on it, have a page full for each one if you like. But when you're intentional and make these plans for yourself and your family, it's going to change your life, right? You'll be better. You'll be just more powerful beings. All right. So anybody else have anything else to say before I stop the recording? Anything last minute inspirations? Yeah, you guys shared some really valuable things and I didn't want to rush this. I feel like, good to have an introduction of this. But yeah, we can go even deeper next week. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll stop the recording now and we'll see each other next week.